I'm trapped. Water rising fast around the car. The engine's dead. No lights. No heat. And I'm stuck here with a complete stranger, a man I picked up at the airport just minutes ago. His name is Michael. He's calm, almost too calm, like he knows something I don't. The water keeps climbing. My phone's about to die. And then he looks at me with those dark eyes and says, "We might be here a while."
Story based on true events. Names, locations, and some facts have been altered to preserve the privacy of those involved.
So let me ask you something. Do you believe some people are meant to meet exactly when they do? I don't know what terrifies me more, the flood outside or what I'm starting to feel inside. The ride app chimed. Airport run. I smiled. Airport rides were my favorite, always good money, even though the traffic getting in and out could be brutal. Sometimes I'd wait 20 minutes just inching through the pickup lane, watching travelers drag their luggage like they were hauling their whole lives behind them. But today felt different. Today felt lucky. I pulled up to Terminal B, scanning the crowd for my passenger. The app said his name was Michael. Simple name. Easy to remember. Same as my youngest uncle, actually. The kind of name that doesn't make you stumble when you say it out loud. I waited. 1 minute. 2. 5. The line of cars behind me was getting impatient, horns starting to blare. I was about to cancel the ride when my phone buzzed. Blue suitcase, dark shirt, be right there. I spotted him immediately. Tall, maybe 6'1", navy dress shirt rolled up at the sleeves, black slacks that looked expensive, carrying a small carry-on bag. Professional, put together. The kind of guy who probably had his life figured out in ways I was still working on. He slid into the back seat and I glanced at the destination address. Clear across town. My heart did a little jump. This ride would save my entire day. Maybe I could actually head home early, curl up with that book everyone on the internet wouldn't shut up about, the one I'd bought last week and hadn't cracked open yet. Want me to put that in the trunk? I asked, nodding at his suitcase. No thanks, I'll keep it with me, he said. His voice was warm, with just a hint of somewhere else in it. Not quite local. I pulled out into traffic just as the first raindrops started hitting the windshield. Within minutes, those drops became sheets. The kind of rain that makes you question everything. Your route, your timing, your choice to leave the house at all. The traffic slowed, then stopped. Completely. I watched the water in the street start to rise with a sinking feeling in my stomach. This wasn't just rain. This was the kind of storm that turned roads into rivers, that made the news, that people talked about for years after. First time in Chicago, he said suddenly, breaking the silence. His voice was steady, like the rising water outside wasn't making his pulse race the way mine was. I'm here to speak at a medical conference. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, watching the water climb past the curb, past the sidewalk, starting to swirl around the tires. Should we get out? Try to find somewhere safe? He leaned forward and I could see his face in the rearview mirror. Calm. Analytical. Doctor face. Actually, no. 2 big risks with that plan. First, the current's stronger than it looks. We could get swept off our feet, pulled into an open drain or manhole. Second, floodwater like this? He gestured outside. Contaminated. Sewage, chemicals, bacteria. We're safer in here. This car's heavy enough. We're not going anywhere. My hands were shaking. He noticed. Hey, he said, softer now. We're okay, I promise. Why don't you tell me your name? Sarah, I managed. Sarah, I'm Michael. And since we're going to be here for a bit, and since I can tell you're nervous, let me tell you about myself. Maybe it'll help. He started talking, and something about his voice, steady, warm, like honey and tea, started to unknot the anxiety in my chest. He was an obstetrician. Loved bringing new life into the world, he said. But lately he'd been thinking about doing something else with his career. Maybe starting his own practice. Maybe something completely different. He'd finished his residency a few years back. Recently ended a 5-year relationship. No kids. His hobbies were books and Saturday night soccer with his med school friends. A tradition they'd kept up for half a decade now. Every week, without fail. They'd play, then grill burgers and drink beer until someone had to be at the hospital for an early shift. Wait, I interrupted, forgetting my fear for a moment. You read? He laughed. Why do people always sound so surprised when I say that? Because you're a doctor. I figured you'd be reading, like, medical journals. Not what? Tell me your favorite authors. His eyes lit up. Sidney Sheldon, Dan Brown, Nicholas Sparks, Agatha Christie. I actually gasped. Shut up. Sidney Sheldon? Don't tell me your favorite is The Other Side of Midnight. Master of the Game, he corrected. I love that whole rags to riches empire building story. You? If Tomorrow Comes, I said immediately. Tracy Whitney is everything. That whole story, the way she gets framed, the way she fights back. Did you think she'd end up behind bars at the end? He asked. Never. If that had happened, I would have thrown the book across the room. The ending was perfect. The car shuddered. The engine made a sick, dying sound, then went silent. The lights went out. The air conditioning, which had been running on heat, went quiet. We sat in sudden darkness. My phone was at 12%. I quickly texted my sister, told her where I was, that I was safe in the car, that I'd wait for the water to recede. She responded immediately with a string of worried emojis. It's getting cold, I said. My breath was starting to fog in the air. Michael unzipped his carry-on. I always travel with a small blanket. Airplane cabins can be freezing. He pulled out a soft fleece blanket and handed it to me. What about you? I asked. I'm fine. I reached out without thinking and touched his arm. His skin was ice cold, goosebumps raised, every hair standing on end. You're freezing, I said. Look, I don't know you, but I can't let you sit here shivering when it's your blanket. If you don't mind, we could share it? He didn't say anything. I took that as permission. I climbed into the back seat and moved close to him, close enough that we could both fit under the blanket, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something clean and woodsy, mixed with the faint scent of his aftershave. Our bodies pressed together for warmth. And we talked. God, we talked. About everything, about nothing, about books and dreams and childhood memories, about the worst movies we'd ever seen and the best meals we'd ever eaten, about fears and hopes and all those small things you usually keep to yourself until you know someone for years. Somehow, 2 hours passed like 20 minutes. He made me laugh. Really laugh. The kind that makes your stomach hurt. He'd tell a story about something that happened to him during his residency, and I'd jump in with something similar that happened to me, and then he'd build on that, and the conversation just kept spiraling upward, this beautiful synchronicity where we never ran out of things to say. So why did your relationship end? I asked finally. 5 years is a long time. He was quiet for a moment. Then, 3 reasons. First, we fell into a routine. I hate routine. She wanted to do the same things, go to the same places every single weekend. Second, her family. Don't get me wrong, I love family, but she'd invite them to everything. Every date night turned into a group outing. I felt like I was dating her entire family tree. And the third? My soccer nights. She hated that I had this one night a week with my friends. Said I was choosing them over her. But I wasn't going every single Saturday, just when I could. I needed that. That space to just be myself, laugh with people I'd known for years, not be Dr. Michael for a few hours. She wanted all of me, all the time. No room to breathe. I nodded. I understood that feeling. Your turn, he said. I took a breath. 3 reasons for me too. Routine was 1. 2 years in, everything felt scripted. I love spontaneity, trying new things, but he wanted the same restaurant, same movie theater, same everything. Second, in private, he'd want things I wasn't comfortable with, and when I'd say no, he'd push. Like being in a relationship meant I owed him access to all of me, no boundaries. My voice got quieter. But the real reason it ended? He put his hands on me. He was texting this childhood friend of his, really familiar stuff, hearts and inside jokes. I got upset, we argued, and he slapped me, right across the face. After that, everything was broken. I tried to move past it, but I couldn't. So I ended it. He kept calling, sending gifts, showing up at my apartment. But it was over. I felt nothing for him anymore. Michael's hand found mine under the blanket. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's okay. I'm past it now. 3 hours in the car, then 4. The conversation never lagged. When I got tired, I rested my head on his shoulder, his fingers intertwined with mine, warm, soft, strong. We looked at each other, really looked. His eyes were this deep brown, almost black in the darkness, and I could see everything in them. Everything I was feeling reflected back at me. We kissed. It was soft at first, tentative, like we were both asking permission, then deeper. hungry. We kissed like we were making up for lost time, like we'd been waiting our whole lives for this moment in a flooded car in the middle of Chicago. The rain drummed on the roof, our own private symphony. I shifted, threw my leg over his lap so I could face him properly, and we kept kissing, talking, kissing again, laughing at how insane this was, kissing more. 5 hours in the car. I didn't want to be anywhere else. Then, a sharp knock on the window. Flashlights. Voices. Rescue workers in a small boat making hand signals, pointing at the window, miming that they'd have to break the glass to get us out. Michael squeezed my hand. I looked at him, tears suddenly streaming down my face. "Is this real?" I whispered. "What we felt today, these few hours, is it real? Or does it end when we leave this car and go back to our real lives?" He looked at me with those impossibly dark eyes. "Sarah, everything we shared in here? It's as real as the rain that fell. What I feel for you, it's real. I promise you that." Minutes later, glass shattered. We covered our faces. Strong hands helped us into the boat. They took us to a temporary shelter set up in a community center 2 blocks away. "Come stay at my place," I said as we stood dripping in the shelter, wrapped in Red Cross blankets. "It's close by. The roads to your hotel might be blocked." "I think I'd be more comfortable at a hotel," he said gently. "There's one near here. But thank you." I insisted. He insisted back. Finally, he called a cab that was somehow still running. We both got in. He dropped me off first. "I have to focus tomorrow morning," he said at my door. "The conference, the speech, that's why I'm here." "I know." We exchanged numbers. He kissed me one more time, soft and sweet, and then he was gone. I called a tow truck to get my car to a mechanic in the morning, took the longest, hottest shower of my life, fell into bed. What a day. 24 hours ago I was single. Now I felt like the luckiest woman alive. I cried, happiness mixed with uncertainty. Would he call? Was this real? Or would he disappear like morning fog? I texted him, home safe, showered, in bed. Today was incredible. Thank you. I fell asleep before I could see if he'd respond. 7 a.m. My phone was ringing, buzzing angry and insistent on my nightstand, like it had something urgent to say. Unknown number. I grabbed it, heart hammering. Was it him? Did he change phones? Even half asleep, my mind was racing. "Ms. Sarah?" A cheerful voice. Too cheerful for 7 in the morning. "Delivery for you. We're outside your building." I threw on my robe and ran downstairs, bare feet slapping against the cold tile of my apartment building's lobby. The delivery guy handed me a wicker basket, enormous, wrapped in cellophane with a giant red bow on top. I carried it upstairs, hands trembling, set it on my kitchen counter and just stared at it for a moment, afraid to hope. Inside the cellophane, tucked into a small cream-colored envelope, was a card. I opened it with shaking fingers. Some storms bring destruction. Ours brought something beautiful. I meant every word I said in that car, every single one. Thank you for yesterday. Thank you for today. Thank you for whatever comes next. Yours, Michael. I pressed the card to my chest and let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. He didn't disappear. He wasn't a beautiful dream that evaporated in daylight. He was real. The basket was stuffed with everything perfect. Croissants, jam, gourmet coffee, orange juice, chocolates, strawberries, and tucked in the center, a white teddy bear with a red heart on its chest that said, "Thinking of you." I grabbed my phone and texted him immediately. "You're incredible, thank you. I can't stop smiling." 3 dots appeared instantly. He was awake, waiting. "Want to come to the conference today? As my guest?" My fingers flew across the keyboard. "Yes, absolutely yes." "I'll pick you up at 8. Be ready." I had 57 minutes. I inhaled a croissant, drank coffee so fast I burned my tongue, jumped in the shower, and tore through my closet looking for something appropriate for a medical conference. I settled on a navy dress, simple but elegant, with nude heels. Professional enough to blend in, nice enough to make him proud to have me there. At exactly 8 o'clock, my buzzer rang. When I opened the door, my breath caught. He wore a charcoal suit, black shirt underneath, no tie. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine, polished, confident, devastating. He pulled me into a hug that lifted me off my feet, buried his face in my hair, and whispered, "I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was seeing you again." He opened the car door for me, an actual gentleman, the kind you think doesn't exist anymore, and when we were both settled in the back seat, we looked at each other and smiled. "Should we?" I started. He kissed me before I could finish the sentence. Deep and slow and perfect, tasting like coffee and promise. We stayed like that, wrapped in each other, until the driver cleared his throat politely. "The convention center, sir." Michael pulled back, grinning. "Yeah, sorry. Let's go." The conference was at the downtown Marriott, this massive hotel with chandeliers and marble floors and people in expensive suits everywhere. Michael checked us in at registration and handed me a special badge, red instead of blue, marked Speaker's Guest. We walked through the lobby together, his hand on the small of my back, and I felt like I was floating. "Michael!" A man in his 50s, silver hair, glasses, white coat over his suit, approached with a huge smile. They embraced, patting each other's backs the way men do. "Dr. Richardson, good to see you," Michael said. Then he turned to me, and what he said next made my heart stop. "This is Sarah, my girlfriend." Girlfriend. We'd known each other for barely 36 hours, and he was introducing me as his girlfriend to important colleagues. The word felt enormous and terrifying and absolutely right all at once. Dr. Richardson shook my hand warmly. "Lucky man," he said to Michael. "Very lucky." Michael's presentation was at 10. We had coffee in the conference lounge, surrounded by doctors discussing things I barely understood. Clinical trials, new procedures, mortality rates. I smiled and nodded and tried not to feel like a fish out of water. When it was time, we went into the main ballroom. Easily 300 people. Michael squeezed my hand before walking up to the stage. He was brilliant, confident, funny even. He made the audience laugh twice. His presentation was about improving maternal outcomes in high-risk pregnancies, and even though half the terminology went over my head, I was mesmerized watching him own that stage. At the end, during the acknowledgements, he paused, looked right at me. "I also want to thank someone special. My girlfriend Sarah, who agreed to spend her day here with me. Thank you for being here." The room applauded politely, but I barely heard it over the rushing in my ears. He'd done it again. Claimed me, publicly, in front of everyone who mattered in his professional world. Lunch was a formal sit-down with 8 other doctors and their spouses. I answered questions about what I did for work, where I was from, how long we'd been dating. That last question was tricky. "Not long," Michael said smoothly, taking my hand on top of the table. "But when you know, you know." The afternoon sessions blurred together, panels and presentations and networking. I met obstetricians from Seattle, Miami, Dallas, Boston. Everyone was kind, welcoming, curious about the woman who'd captured Dr. Michael Chen's attention. By 6 p.m., we were exhausted. Michael's phone buzzed. "My flight's at 8 tomorrow morning," he said quietly as we stood in the hotel lobby. "But I don't want to leave yet." "Come over," I said. "Please, let me make you dinner. Or we can order something. Just come over." This time he didn't hesitate. "Okay." We ordered pizza from my favorite place, opened a bottle of red wine I'd been saving for a special occasion, and collapsed on my couch. We talked about everything and nothing. His presentation, my job as a rideshare driver, whether I'd ever thought about doing something else, whether he'd ever regret leaving medicine if he pursued entrepreneurship. "Can I ask you something?" he said, refilling our wine glasses. "Anything. Yesterday, in that car. Did you feel it? What I felt?" I nodded. Like lightning, he repeated. "That's exactly it. I've never experienced anything like that. 5 years with my ex, and I never felt in 5 years what I felt with you in 5 hours. Me neither." He pulled me close, and we sat there wrapped in a throw blanket, remembering the flood, the fear, the strange magic of being trapped together. We kissed slowly, deliberately, like we had all the time in the world, even though we both knew he was leaving in the morning. "Stay," I whispered against his lips. "Don't go back to the hotel." He pulled back slightly. "Sarah, just to sleep. I'm not ready to say goodbye yet." He searched my face, then nodded. "Okay." We moved to my bedroom. I lent him a t-shirt that was way too small, and we laughed as he tried to squeeze into it. We lay facing each other in the darkness, hands intertwined between us. "This is crazy," I whispered. "I know. I don't do things like this. Neither do I. But it feels right." "It feels right," he agreed. I fell asleep with my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and sure. Morning came too fast. His alarm went off at 5:30. We lay there for a few more minutes, neither of us wanting to move to break the spell. "I have to go," he finally said. "I know." We got up. He changed back into his suit from yesterday. I made coffee while he called a car to the airport. We stood in my kitchen, this awful silence hanging between us, both knowing this was some kind of ending, even if we hoped it wasn't. "Sarah," he set down his coffee cup and took both my hands. "I know this is fast. I know it's insane. But I don't want this to end. I want to see where this goes." "So do I. I'm in Boston. You're here. But I travel for conferences a lot. And you could visit, and we'll figure it out. Okay?" "Okay." His phone buzzed. "Car's here." We walked downstairs together. The black sedan was waiting at the curb. He put his suitcase in the trunk, then turned to me. "I'll call you tonight," he said. "Promise?" "Promise." He kissed me one more time, soft and sweet and heartbreaking, and then he was gone. I stood on the sidewalk in my pajamas and bare feet, watching the car disappear around the corner, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life by letting myself fall so hard, so fast. My phone buzzed before I even made it back upstairs. "Michael, miss you already?" I smiled through tears. "Me, miss you too." The next 2 weeks were a blur of text messages and phone calls and video chats. Good morning texts, good night calls, updates about our days, photos of meals, of sunsets, of random things that made us think of each other. Then, "I'm coming back to Chicago this weekend. Can I see you?" Could he see me? I would have flown to Boston if he'd asked. He arrived Friday night. I picked him up from the airport, poetic symmetry, and we spent the entire weekend in my apartment, barely leaving except to get food. We talked and laughed and kissed and watched movies and made plans. Sunday night, as he packed to leave again, "What if you came to Boston? Not to visit. To stay." I froze. "What?" "My current assistant only handles my clinical schedule. I need someone to manage my whole life. Appointments, travel, personal stuff, all of it. It could be you. You'd work for me, yeah, but you'd also be with me. Every day. What do you think?" "Michael, You don't have to answer now. Think about it. But Sarah, I'm serious. I want you in my life. Not just on weekends, not just on phone calls. Really in my life." 3 days later, I quit my job, broke my lease, and bought a one-way ticket to Boston. My sister thought I was insane. My best friend Jennifer staged an intervention. But I knew. Deep in my bones, I knew this was right. The first month in Boston was an adjustment. New city, new apartment, Michael's apartment, which became our apartment, new job, learning the rhythm of his life, his schedule, his preferences. But it worked. God, it worked. We fell into this beautiful routine that wasn't boring, wasn't stifling. We'd have coffee together every morning. I'd manage his day while he saw patients. Evenings were ours, cooking together, reading side by side on the couch, walking through his neighborhood. His friends embraced me. Saturday soccer nights became our tradition. I'd watch them play, then we'd all grill and drink and tell stories. They treated me like I'd always been there. 6 months in, I flew home for Jennifer's birthday. A lunch party at her family's farm outside the city. Michael came with me. "Everyone," I announced as we walked into the backyard full of people. "This is Michael, my boyfriend." God, I loved saying that word. Still, even after 6 months, it gave me butterflies. Jennifer pulled me aside immediately. "Okay, I was wrong. I was so wrong. He's amazing. The way he looks at you, girl, marry that man." "Give us time," I laughed. But time moved faster than I expected. 1-year anniversary. The medical conference was back in Chicago. Same hotel, same ballroom. Michael was speaking again. He was nervous, more nervous than I'd ever seen him. Pacing in the hotel room, checking his notes obsessively. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, fine, just want this to go well." His presentation was flawless. The crowd loved him. And then, at the end, he did something unexpected. "Before I close," he said, "I want to tell you all a story. Last year, I came to this conference and met someone. Met her in the most unlikely way, trapped in a flooded car during a storm. We spent 5 hours together. Strangers. And in those 5 hours, I fell completely, irreversibly in love. My heart stopped. What was he doing? She's here today. Sarah, can you come up here?" 300 pairs of eyes turned to look at me. I stood frozen. "Come on," Michael said, smiling, gesturing. "Don't leave me hanging." I walked to the stage on shaking legs. He took my hand, pulled me close. "This woman," he said to the crowd, "changed my entire life, made me believe in fate, in timing, in the idea that sometimes the universe puts exactly the right person in exactly the right place at exactly the right time." Someone brought up a bouquet of red roses. He handed them to me, and I clutched them, completely overwhelmed. "But wait," he said. "There's one more thing." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The room went completely silent. He got down on one knee. "Sarah, 1 year ago, we were trapped in a car surrounded by floodwater, and I thought, this is it. This is how my story ends." But it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of everything. "You're my best friend, my partner, the person I want next to me through every storm, every challenge, every joy. I love you more than I knew it was possible to love someone. So I'm asking you, in front of all these people, in the same city where we met, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down my face. I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. "Yes," I finally managed. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He slid the ring onto my finger, a simple diamond solitaire, elegant and perfect, and stood up and kissed me while 300 doctors and nurses and medical professionals applauded and cheered. "I love you," he whispered against my lips. "I love you too." We got married exactly 1 year later. Small ceremony, close friends and family, in a garden overlooking the ocean. My sister was my maid of honor. His best friend from med school was his best man. Our vows made everyone cry. We promised to weather every storm together, to never take each other for granted, to remember that car, that flood, that impossible beginning whenever things got hard. 2 years after that, our daughter Emma was born. Then, 18 months later, our son Noah. Life settled into something beautiful, something I'd never imagined possible back when I was driving strangers around Chicago, wondering if I'd ever find someone who truly understood me. Michael's practice grew. He became one of the most sought-after obstetricians in Boston, known not just for his skill but for his compassion, the way he made every patient feel seen, heard, valued. I managed everything behind the scenes: his schedule, his speaking engagements, the business side of the practice. We were a team, in every sense of the word. Emma was 3 now, with Michael's dark eyes and my wild curls. Noah was 18 months, all chubby cheeks and endless energy. Our apartment had transformed from a quiet space for 2 into a chaos of toys and laughter and sleepless nights, and the kind of exhaustion that somehow felt like joy. Saturday nights were still sacred. Michael's soccer tradition continued, but now I brought the kids. Emma would run around the field with the other players' children while I held Noah on my hip, cheering from the sidelines. Afterward, we'd all gather for burgers and ice cream, this extended family of med school friends who'd become our family. But beneath the surface of our perfect life, something was shifting. It started small. Michael coming home late, missing dinner, distracted during conversations, his phone constantly buzzing with messages he'd check and then quickly put away. "Everything okay?" I asked one night as he stared at his phone during Emma's bedtime story. "What?" "Yeah, fine. Just a patient situation." But his eyes wouldn't meet mine. I told myself I was being paranoid. He was a doctor. Patients needed him at all hours. This was part of the life I'd signed up for. Then I started noticing other things. Unfamiliar perfume on his shirts when I did laundry. Receipts from restaurants we'd never been to together. A text message that popped up on his phone while he was in the shower. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." My hands shook as I put the phone down. There had to be an explanation. A colleague, a friend, something innocent. "Michael," I said when he came out, towel around his waist, hair dripping. "Who's Jessica?" He froze, just for a second. But I saw it. The panic in his eyes before he masked it with confusion. "Jessica? Jessica Morrison. She's a nurse at the hospital. Why?" "She texted you. Said last night was amazing." "Oh, yeah. We had a really complicated delivery last night. Twins. Touch and go for a while. She was probably relieved we pulled it off." The explanation was smooth, reasonable, but something in my gut twisted. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. So I pushed the doubt down, buried it deep, told myself I was being crazy. But the signs kept coming. He started going to conferences almost every weekend. Conferences I couldn't find listed anywhere online. When I asked to come along, He'd say they were boring, technical. No point in dragging me and the kids across the country for seminars about medical procedures. Our intimacy faded. He'd come to bed late, after I was already asleep. Wake up early before I stirred. We went from making love several times a week to once a month, if that. The worst part was how he looked at me. Or rather, how he didn't look at me. The way his eyes would slide past mine during conversations. The way he'd kiss me goodbye. Distracted, obligatory. Like checking an item off a to-do list. I felt myself disappearing, becoming invisible in my own marriage. 6 months of this. 6 months of doubt and suspicion and hating myself for not trusting him, for being that wife, paranoid and insecure. Then came the breaking point. It was a Thursday. Michael had a late surgery scheduled, said he wouldn't be home until after midnight. I put the kids to bed, cleaned the kitchen, settled onto the couch with a book I couldn't concentrate on. Around 10 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Sarah Chen? A woman's voice. Young, shaking. Yes. Who is this? My name is Jessica Morrison. I'm a nurse at Boston General. I work with your husband. My heart dropped into my stomach. Okay. I need to tell you something, and I'm so sorry, but you deserve to know. She took a shaky breath. Michael and I have been involved for about 8 months. It started at a conference in New York. We were both drinking, and it just happened. And then it kept happening. And I thought he was going to leave you. He kept saying he would. That you two had grown apart. That the marriage wasn't working. But last week, I saw him at the hospital with you and your kids, and the way he introduced you as his wife, so proud, like everything was perfect. She was crying now. I realized he was never going to leave you, that I was just something on the side. And I can't do this anymore. I can't be the other woman. You deserve to know what he's been doing. The room spun. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. Are you there? Jessica asked. I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought it was real. But he's been lying to both of us. She hung up. I sat in the darkness of our living room, in the home we'd built together, surrounded by photos of our family, our life, our supposed happiness, and felt something inside me break. Michael came home at 12:30. I was still on the couch, hadn't moved, hadn't turned on any lights. Hey, he said, dropping his keys on the counter. You're still up? Everything okay? Jessica called me. He froze, completely still. Then, Sarah? Don't. My voice was steel. Don't lie to me. Not anymore. She told me everything. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. I'm sorry. God, Sarah, I'm so sorry. How long? 8 months. 8 months. I laughed, but it came out broken. 8 months you've been sleeping with someone else. Coming home to me. Kissing our children goodnight. Playing the devoted husband and father. 8 months of lying every single day. It didn't mean anything. Don't. I stood up, shaking. Don't you dare tell me it didn't mean anything. 8 months means something. 8 months is a choice you made every single day. I love you. Stop. Just stop. Tears poured down my face. You love me? You love me, but you're sleeping with someone else? That's not love, Michael. That's not what we promised each other. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. A mistake is being late for dinner. This is betrayal. This is you choosing to destroy everything we built together. He reached for me. I stepped back. Don't touch me. Sarah, please, let me explain. We can work through this. I'll end it with her. I'll do whatever it takes. It's already ended. She called me to tell me she's done being the other woman. She's done waiting for you to leave me. Congratulations, Michael. You lost both of us. I walked to our bedroom, grabbed a pillow and blanket, threw them at him. Sleep on the couch. Don't come near me. That night was the longest of my life. I lay in our bed, in the sheets that smelled like him, and cried until I had nothing left. I thought about that car, that flood, those 5 hours when I believed I'd found my soulmate. Had it all been a lie? Had I imagined the connection between us? Or had we been real once, and somewhere along the way, he'd let it slip through his fingers? Morning came. Emma bounced into the bedroom at 6:30, oblivious to the fact that her world was crumbling. Mommy, pancakes? I forced a smile. Sure, baby. Let's make pancakes. Michael was gone. A note on the counter. Went for a walk. Need to think. We need to talk. Please. We didn't talk that day. Or the next. I couldn't look at him without seeing Jessica. Couldn't touch him without wondering if he'd touched her the same way. Couldn't listen to his apologies without hearing the lies he'd told for 8 months. I called my sister. Told her everything. Come home, she said immediately. Bring the kids. Stay with me. Take some time to think. I can't just leave. Yes, you can. Sarah, you need space. Distance. You can't make decisions about your marriage while you're living in the same house with him. She was right. I packed bags for me and the kids. Booked flights to Chicago for the next morning. When Michael came home that evening, I was loading suitcases into the car. What are you doing? Panic in his voice. Going to my sister's. For a few weeks. Maybe longer. I don't know. Sarah, no. Please. We need to work through this together. There is no together right now. There's you, who destroyed our marriage. And there's me, trying to figure out if there's anything left worth saving. What about the kids? What about them? You should have thought about them before you started an affair with someone young enough to be your student. That's not fair. Fair? I laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? Was it fair to me? To Emma? To Noah? You risked everything. Our family, our life, everything we built. For what? Because you were bored? Because she made you feel young? Because the routine got too routine? He had no answer. I'll be in touch about logistics. You can video call the kids every day. But you and me? We're done talking until I figure out what I want. Chicago felt like going back in time. My sister's guest room, my old neighborhood, streets I'd driven down hundreds of times before I met Michael. Emma asked about Daddy constantly. Noah cried for him. I had to explain in toddler terms that Mommy and Daddy needed some time apart to work on grown-up problems. Michael called every day. I rarely answered. He sent gifts, flowers, teddy bears for the kids, handwritten letters begging for forgiveness. I read them all. Felt nothing. Jennifer came over one afternoon. We sat on my sister's porch while the kids played in the yard. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know. Do you still love him? I don't know that either. Sarah, look at me. She took my hand. I've known you for 20 years. I saw you before Michael, and I saw you after. And I have never ever seen you as happy as you were with him. That first year, you glowed. You were more yourself than I'd ever seen you. Yes, he messed up. Catastrophically. But people make mistakes. People hurt the ones they love. The question is, can you forgive him? Can you trust him again? And if the answer is no, that's okay. You walk away. But if the answer is maybe, then maybe you owe it to yourself, to your kids, to try. I don't know if I can get past this. Then don't decide now. Give yourself time. Real time. Not days or weeks, months. Figure out who you are without him. Figure out what you want your life to look like, and then decide. 3 months in Chicago. 3 months of therapy, individual counseling to work through the betrayal, the anger, the grief of watching my marriage fall apart. 3 months of being just mom, not Michael's wife, not his assistant, just me. And slowly, painfully, I started to heal. I realized something. I'd lost myself in our relationship. Not because Michael asked me to, but because I'd made him my entire world. My identity had become Michael's wife, Emma and Noah's mom. I'd forgotten who Sarah was before all of that, so I started rediscovering her. I took a painting class, started running again, read books just for pleasure, reconnected with old friends, remembered what made me happy, independent of anyone else. Michael kept calling, kept writing, kept showing up, metaphorically, asking for another chance. And after 3 months, I finally answered. Hi, I said. Hi. His voice cracked. Thank you for picking up. I'm not ready to come home yet. I know, but I'm willing to talk. Really talk. With a marriage counselor. Video sessions, since I'm here and you're there. But Michael, I need you to understand something. If we do this, if we try to rebuild, you have to be all in. Complete transparency. No more lies. No more secrets. And even then, I can't promise I'll be able to forgive you. I can't promise we'll make it. I understand. And Sarah, I'll do whatever it takes. I ended things with Jessica the night you found out. I've been in therapy. I've been working on myself, trying to understand why I did what I did. And I know this sounds hollow, but I love you. I never stopped loving you. lost my way, and I want to find my way back. To you, to us. We started counseling, twice a week. Brutal, honest sessions where we tore apart everything wrong with our marriage and tried to figure out if there was anything worth salvaging. I learned that Michael had felt neglected. That after the kids were born, he felt like he'd become an accessory in my life rather than a partner. That he'd tried to talk to me about it, but I'd been so consumed with motherhood, with managing his practice, with keeping all the plates spinning, that I'd dismissed his feelings. It wasn't an excuse for what he did, but it was context. I learned that I'd stopped prioritizing our marriage. That I'd taken him for granted, assumed he'd always be there, always be satisfied, always be content with whatever scraps of attention I could spare after taking care of everyone else. It wasn't my fault he cheated, but I'd contributed to the distance between us. We both had work to do. 6 months after I left, I brought the kids back to Boston. Not to move back in, not yet, but to visit. To see if we could exist in the same space without everything falling apart. Michael had changed. I could see it immediately. He'd lost weight. Gray had appeared at his temples. But more than the physical changes, there was something different in his eyes. Humility, remorse. A man who'd looked into the abyss and realized what he'd almost lost. "Daddy!" Emma ran to him and he caught her, lifting her up, tears streaming down his face. "Hi, baby girl. I missed you so much." Noah was shyer, taking a moment to remember this man who'd been gone from his daily life for half a year. But eventually he warmed up, and soon Michael was on the floor playing trucks, laughing, present in a way I hadn't seen in years. We had dinner together that first night. Awkward, careful, like first date conversation, but without the hostility, without the anger that had consumed me those first few months. "I'm proud of you," I said quietly after the kids were in bed. Our bed, though I'd sleep in the guest room. For doing the work, for taking this seriously. "I destroyed the best thing in my life," he said. "If there's even a chance I can fix it, I'll spend the rest of my life trying." Over the next few weeks, we rebuilt. Slowly. We went on dates, real dates, with babysitters and restaurant reservations and conversation that wasn't about the kids or logistics. We held hands, laughed together, remembered why we'd fallen in love in that flooded car all those years ago. But at night, we slept in separate rooms. I wasn't ready for that intimacy yet. Might never be ready. Until one night, 8 months after everything fell apart, Michael knocked on the guest room door. "Can I come in?" "Yeah." He sat on the edge of the bed. "I need to say something, and then I'll leave you alone. But I need you to hear this." I sat up, pulled my knees to my chest. "Sarah, I know I broke your trust. I know I hurt you in ways that might never fully heal. And I know you might never forgive me, might never love me the way you did before. But I need you to know, you are the love of my life. That car, that storm, that impossible meeting, it wasn't chance. It was fate. And I threw it away because I was selfish and stupid and I took you for granted. But if you give me another chance, if you let me spend the rest of my life making this up to you, I promise I will never, ever make you doubt me again. I will be the husband you deserved from the beginning, the partner you needed when things got hard. I will choose you, every single day, for the rest of my life." He stood to leave. "Michael, wait." He turned. "I'm not ready to say everything's okay. I'm not ready to promise we're fixed. But I'm willing to try. Really try. Not just counseling and dates and coexisting. Try to rebuild what we had. Try to trust you again." Hope flickered in his eyes. "Really? Really? But you have to know, this is your only chance. If you ever betray me again, we're done. No counseling. No second chances. Done. I understand. Okay then." I patted the bed beside me. "Stay." He looked uncertain. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." He climbed in beside me, careful not to touch me unless I initiated. We lay there in the darkness, inches apart, and slowly, tentatively, I reached for his hand. He squeezed it like a lifeline. "Thank you," he whispered. "Don't thank me yet. We still have a long way to go." But we were going there together. 2 years later, we renewed our vows. A small ceremony on the beach where we'd gotten married the first time. Emma and Noah were our flower girl and ring bearer. Our families and closest friends surrounded us. The vows we wrote were different this time. Less about romantic ideals and more about hard-won truth. "I promise to never take you for granted," Michael said. voice thick with emotion. To choose you, every day, even when it's hard. To be honest, even when the truth is uncomfortable. To remember that the greatest gift of my life is your trust, and to honor that trust every moment of every day. I promise to prioritize us, I said. To remember that we're not just parents or professionals, but partners. To communicate when I feel neglected or overwhelmed instead of letting resentment build. To forgive, even when it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And to never stop fighting for this marriage, for this family, for us. Our counselor, who'd become a friend through this journey, pronounced us remarried. We kissed while our children cheered and our friends cried and the ocean waves crashed behind us. Life isn't perfect now. We still have hard days. Days when I remember the affair and feel that knife twist of betrayal. Days when Michael overcorrects, becoming so transparent and cautious that I have to remind him I'm not made of glass. But we're here, together. Stronger for having walked through fire and come out the other side. Emma is 7 now. Noah is 5. We had another baby last year, a daughter we named Grace, because that's what saved our marriage. Grace and second chances and the willingness to do the hard work of loving someone even when they've hurt you. Michael left the hospital, started his own practice focused on supporting couples through high-risk pregnancies and postpartum challenges. He says going through our own crisis gave him insight into how fragile relationships can be, especially during the stress of parenthood. I went back to school, got my degree in counseling. Now I work with women who've experienced betrayal in their marriages, helping them navigate the impossible decision of whether to stay or go. We still talk about that car, that storm, that night when 2 strangers became everything to each other. Do you ever regret it? Michael asked me recently, as we sat on our porch after the kids were asleep. Getting into that car with me? Everything that came after? I thought about it, really thought about it. The joy and the pain, the love and the betrayal, the breaking and the healing. No, I finally said. Not even the hard parts, because the hard parts taught us who we really are, taught us what we're capable of surviving. And I'd rather have a real, imperfect, fought-for love than a perfect fairy tale that never gets tested. He kissed my forehead. I love you, Sarah Chen. I love you too. And I meant it. Scars and all. Reflection. If you're listening to this story and you're going through something similar, whether it's betrayal or distance or the slow erosion of a relationship you thought would last forever, I want you to know something. You're not alone. Every marriage, every partnership goes through seasons. Some seasons are spring, full of growth and beauty and promise. Some are winter, cold and dark and seemingly endless. The question isn't whether you'll face winter, you will. The question is, will you face it together, or will you let it freeze you both into separate, isolated corners? There's no right answer. Some marriages don't survive betrayal, and that's okay. Forgiveness isn't required. Staying isn't noble if it means sacrificing your peace, your safety, your sense of self. But if you choose to stay, if you choose to fight for what you built together, know this. It's possible. It's hard. It requires more courage and vulnerability and brutal honesty than you think you're capable of. But it's possible. Here's what I learned. Love isn't a feeling. It's a choice you make every single day. And some days, when you're hurt and angry, and the person you love has become a stranger, making that choice feels impossible. But those are the days that matter most. Trust can be rebuilt. Not quickly, not easily, but slowly, with consistent action and transparent communication and time, trust can grow back. It won't look the same as it did before. It'll have scars. But scars are proof of healing, not failure. You can't fix a marriage alone. Both people have to be willing to do the work. To look at their own failures and shortcomings, to take responsibility, to change. If only one person is trying, it won't work. But if you're both committed, if you're both willing to be uncomfortable and honest and brave, there's hope. And finally, you are stronger than you think. You can survive things you never imagined surviving. You can find joy again after heartbreak. You can rebuild after destruction. You are not defined by what happened to you, but by how you choose to move forward. A prayer. For those of you facing your own storms today, whether in your marriage, your family, your health, your career, or your faith, I pray this. Lord, give us strength when we feel weak. Give us hope when we feel hopeless. Give us wisdom to know when to fight and when to let go. Give us courage to be honest, even when the truth is terrifying. Give us grace to forgive others and to forgive ourselves. Help us remember that you are present in every storm, that you are working even when we can't see it, that your plan is bigger than our pain. And when we're tempted to give up, to walk away from hard things, to choose the easy path instead of the right path, remind us of your love, unchanging, unending, unconditional. Give us the faith to believe that beauty can come from ashes, that joy can follow sorrow, that love can survive even the hardest tests. We trust you with our broken pieces. Make us whole, make us new. Make us brave enough to love even when love is risky. In your name, amen. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how a flood brought me love, how betrayal nearly destroyed it, and how grace saved it. If you're in your own flood right now, literal or metaphorical, hold on. The water will recede, the sun will come out, and who knows, maybe you'll find exactly what you needed in the most unexpected place. Thank you for listening to my story. May you find your own hope, your own healing, and your own second chances.